Hello everyone, today we'll continue learning Python and today we'll create structures for our messages in Python Messenger. So let's start. In the last episode we created direct messages, so now we can send messages to only one user. So as you can see here, when data received, we decode the data, and if we don't have user to send to, so self another client is none, and by default it's here, right here is none, we choose that user with integer data which user sent to us, and everything works fine. And every user has unique ID because self last ID equals 0, and once we build our protocol, so once user is connected and we need to build server protocol for that specific user, we increment last ID by 1 and put that ID into our new server. But again, that method is not pretty secure because you use just raw integers. These are not IDs, these are not, actually it's not good to use ID even. And what I want to do is create database, but we'll do it in the future, and instead of integer from data right here, we'll use, for example, phone number, username of that user, or I don't know, domain, like your name is Andrew and your domain is Andrew underscore pi, for example. But now what I want to do is create structure, and why we need structure in our messages. So now let's go right here, and as you can see, if we, and it's actually better for you to watch my last videos on my Python Messenger, because I will not explain how server factor works, how server works, how protocol works, and so on. Okay, now let's look right here. Another client equals integer from data. If user send, for example, hello instead of ID of another user, we'll raise key error, or key error will be raised actually. And not key error, but value error will be raised, and we will send message, write another ID as integer. Send message, it's our own function, so we have self, data, and where parameters. And where, it's where we send our data, so if we have user to send to, we just can provide that specific user and send to that specific transport. But if we don't provide anything, so where is none, it's if where is grades false, and then we else, go to else right here, and we send the data to our own user. So again, for every user, there is a server protocol, so two protocols on each side, server and client. Okay, but what I want to do is create structure. Why? Because now we send raw messages. So you can see send message right here, right here, right here. These are all raw strings. And that's not pretty convenient, because what I want to do is create structure again. For example, we will be able to send value, then we will be able to send action, and then we will be able to send, for example, type of that action. We want to choose user, we want to send a message, we want to delete the user from our direct messages, so delete the history of messages, or we want to do something else. And structure is pretty important because every server actually uses a structure. And the most common structure nowadays is HTTP structure. So we have HTTP request, and it has get, post, put, delete, body, headers, but I don't want to use them because again, it's just not pretty convenient because we work with twisted. And second of all, I want to use Json because I like it more when we talk about structures and I'm not in Django. So Json, it's a special library, stands for JavaScript object notation, and that JSON library helps us to create these objects in Python. If you don't know anything about JSON and you want to know more about that library, you can go into the description and look for the link to the documentation of JSON module. It's pre-installed, so everything is well documented, and actually JSON is pretty easy to understand, and I think you will spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes to understand it. Two functions which we'll use today. It's JSON.dumps, which creates a string, so JSON string object, because when we send or when we talk with clients and servers, we can only send strings, raw strings, okay? And we encode the strings right here. And what we will need to do is create JSON string, and then once our client got that string, what we will need to do is use JSON loads, which simply creates creates Python object from the string. So again, JSON dumps creates from Python object to string, and JSON loads converts from Python string to Python object. That's easy. Okay, import JSON, and let's go, or let's update or improve our send message function. I'll remove data and where, and I'll use queued arguments. If you don't know anything about them, I made a video especially for that part of Python Messenger, and you can watch about arguments and queued arguments. They're pretty easy. Okay, then what I want to do is create define double underscore Json, or let's go encode Json, and that as well will accept queued arguments. So why I do this? Well, when we will send a message, we'll use encode JSON function to encode Python object, so dictionary, because queued arguments is a dictionary in Python, to JSON string. And I don't want to use, for example, send message and then I'll use self.encode JSON right here, because it's not pretty convenient and we'll talk only in JSON objects. So we will not ever send a raw string again. Okay, only JSON object. Because of that, what I need to do is update my send message function, and it will use encode JSON function right here. So you'll understand in a minute. Now what I want to do is return JSON.dumps, again to encode our Python object, so Python dictionary queued arguments, to JSON. And let's go with queued arguments right here, and everything works fine. And actually we can call it with static method, so right here, and remove self. Okay, and why I use double underscore before encode JSON? Because I don't want anybody except my server to use that method. So when we use double underscore, it says that our method cannot be used. And it's just a hint for other programmers. That's it. Okay, queued arguments right here, and then what I want to do, I'll remove all of that, or actually let's comment it out, just for a hint. And then we need to do the same structure, but with queued arguments. And how we can do this? If queued arguments dot get from where. So again, I told you that queued arguments is a dictionary in Python. It's always a dictionary when we use queued arguments right here. And we can use get method to understand if there is a key with name where or not. If we don't have that key, so else, we'll send to self.transport dot write. Let's do it right now. Self.double underscore encode JSON. So as you can see, I can use that function in my server when I'm inside my server. But if I'll go right here, so yeah, so right here on build protocol, and let's go double underscore encode. I don't have that function, but actually you can use it in Python, and that's a big problem, I think. But actually it's not. Okay, but you cannot use that function right here. If I write encode JSON and will provide nothing, because queued arguments require nothing, you can provide an empty list right here. What will happen is that we'll receive an error because of double underscore right here. But actually we can use it with method, but it's not recommended again. And because of that, I use double underscore, because I don't want anybody except my server to use that function. Okay, I think you understand. Now we send self.transport.write encode JSON, and we send our queued arguments. Okay, and actually, because we use queued arguments right here as normal queued arguments, what we need to do is, I forgot how, so we need to just give values, not a dictionary, but values. And because of that, I use, again, these double multi-point signs to unpack. Yeah, it's called unpacking. Unpack every value in queued arguments dictionary. Okay, then if queued arguments get where, if we have another protocol to send our data to, what I can do is, first of all, delete queued arguments from where. Then what I need to do is self.transport.write, or sorry, not transport.write, but what we can do is where equals queued arguments from where, then where.write, and right here. So where.transport.write. And why I do that? First of all, we save the value of where from queued arguments to another variable, so where. Then I delete queued arguments value by using key where. So we delete the value on the key where. And why I do this? Because if we will send some kind of, so we send just simply a protocol, and that can lead to some serious problems. I cannot think of a problem right now, so I cannot understand it, but it can lead. And actually it's better to send only the information you need to get. So I will not send any IDs, I will not send any database records, only like in objects. So user object, I don't know, message object, and so on. And because of that, I think it's better to delete queued arguments from where. And yeah, that's it. And actually, why I don't use queued arguments where like that? So queued arguments where like that right here. Because if we don't have where, it will not go to else. It will raise key error. because we don't have key where and here. But get, on the other hand, returns none. So you can call false right here if you need, and it will return false, but actually by default it's none. So value which is returned if we don't have that key in our dictionary. By default it's none, and actually it's a pretty convenient function. Okay, now I think everything works fine, and let's delete that noise. So we done everything right, and yeah, I think everything works fine. So now what I want to do is rewrite my send message function when I use it. So right here, right here, right here. And how we can do this? What I want to do is create a structure, and now I will comment it out right here. So value, it's the value of our message. Then let's call, for example, type. It's the type of our message, or actually an action. So what we do, type can be, for example, message, new user, register, login, or I don't know, choose user. So type defines what our user wants to do. Okay, and actually I think yeah, that's it. Okay, now what I want to do here is provide, as you can see, value equals write another integer, write another ID as integer, and type error. So we will send an error to our user. We can copy that right here, because we only send values. We only sent values in our previous version of our server. Okay, error right here, because again we accept key error and we need to send an error to our user. Okay, and then else. Else in try calls is called when there are no errors. Okay, so if our try worked correctly, we use else. Okay, and talk through as a value and type. Let's call user. If everything worked fine and we chose the user, we'll send user chosen, and yeah, that's it. Okay, and then right here, else try. We try to send message to that specific user right here. So again, you can watch previous video where it defines where we want to send that message. So where self clients, self another client, so our protocol, and then or user. Okay, and then what we need to do is define the type. So type, let's go just message. Or let's call new message, because we will be able to edit messages, and I think I'll have another type. Okay, and type right here, so we accept key error again, type, it will be error. Okay, now I think everything works fine, and we have structure in our server. But now let's go to our client, because our client still has no structure. And if I run my server now and my client now, what will happen is that our server will collapse, because I forgot to do something very important. Right here, before I decode my data, what I need to do is call try. First of all, why I need to do that? Because because data decode can cause an error. So decode error. Let's go right here, and I think we'll see. Oh no, we will not see, but decode can cause an error. So these are called Unicode decode error and Unicode encode error. So why do we need to do that? If our client will have another client, or if our client will have another encoding, so as you can see here we use UTF-8. But if we'll pass ASCII, for example, and our client will speak Portuguese, for example, ASCII will not be able to translate bytes in string. And because of that, we need to accept in Unicode decode error. And actually, Unicode encode error is when you cannot encode, but UTF-8 encodes literally everything. Okay, then what I need to do is send a message, so I'll copy that right here, value write or cannot decode, for example, cannot decode, and type as error. And then what we need to do is translate from JSON object to Python object, Python dictionary. Because of that, we need to do json.loads. But again, there is a problem with loads, and loads again translates from string to Python dictionary, and after that line our data is dictionary. But there is a problem with JSON loads, because it can cause an error too. And what I need to do, cannot decode UTF, cannot decode, use UTF-8. And then I'll copy that, or these two lines, and let's go here. And what we need to do is JSON decode error. So JSON itself has decode error exception. So it's an exception type, as you can see, value error right here. And it's called when we cannot decode from string to JSON. Pretty easy. Okay, self-send message cannot decode, use JSON. I think everything works fine. And I think, yes, everything works fine. Okay, now what we need to do here is remove if not self another client, but if data type equals, for example, choose user or user choose. It actually doesn't matter. Yeah, let's call user choose because we use user chosen right here and just for beauty. Okay, if data type equals user chose, we chose the user. But if data type, so elif right here, data from type equals, let's go new message, what will happen? We will send the message to that user. Okay, pretty convenient. And what I need to do here is create an if. So if we have that user to send the message to, so if another client, or let's go if not another client, so if we don't have that user, we'll send an error. So self. Okay, if we don't have another client and actually self.another client, then we and type as error. Then we send don't have a client to send your message to, and we use type as error. Okay, so when we have an error going on, we send type as error. If we chose user, we send user chosen. If we have new message, we send new message. Everything is pretty easy. Okay, I think everything works fine, but if I run my code now and our user will not send data with type, what will happen is we'll cause an error. So our server will collapse. And I don't want that, and what I will do is data get type, if not data get type. So if we don't have type key in our data dictionary, what will happen? We will just send wrong data. And type of course as error. I will go through my code and I will explain everything. We try to decode our data and we use data decode. Because of that, we need to accept Unicode decode error, and we need to accept JSON decode error because we use JSON words right here. JSON words transfers your string into Python dictionary. Okay, if everything worked fine, we go along. Then what we need to do, or actually we can return here, because if we have an error, we don't need to go down and execute all of that code. Okay, if we don't have error, so we go right here, and our user don't send the type of the action he wants to do, what will happen is self-send message, wrong data, or wrong data that let's go don't have a type. It will send wrong data with type error. Okay, if you have type, then what we'll do here is data from type equals user chose. Then we go right here, data from type equals new message. And everything works fine. So we send messages and yeah, actually that's fine. But another problem is that we don't have value. Or actually we send the whole dictionary to the user. Let's go right here, so try another client equals to integer from data. That will cause an error constantly, because we cannot transfer Python dictionary into an integer. That's not how it works. What we need to do here is integer, actually, from data value. Because again, data value, it's the value user wants to... So for example, when we chose the user, we want to choose Daniel, not Andrew. And value will be Daniel. Okay, so value, it's the value user sent. And then when we go right here, if not self another client, no, everything is fine. Yes, right here. When we send a message to a user, what we need to do is again use data value. And actually, because we use data value with that, I don't know how it's called, just with row keys, like value, what we need to do here is if not get data type or data.get let's go value, or not data. So what you can see here, I updated my if statement right here, and what will happen? And actually return right here. Why I use return? Because I don't want to execute the code if we have an error, because we need to send an error to the client because something is wrong. Okay, what I do here, if we don't have type in our data, then we send wrong data right here. If we don't have value in our data, we again send wrong data right here. Okay, I think that's easy, and actually if you want to follow along, you can look at the description for the code. Okay, now I think everything is fine, and I think now we don't have errors. So okay, so now we're a client, and I will import JSON because I need to send and receive messages in JSON right now. And let's go right here, send message. Actually, it will not be pretty convenient when we work in terminal. Why? Because we will send not just raw data, but we'll need to write both the type and the value. It's not pretty convenient, but when we'll go to the UI, and I'll use UI, it will be much more easier for servers and for clients to communicate. Okay, now what I want to do is create, or actually copy the function from here. So define encode Json. Actually, it's not pretty great to copy functions, but whatever. Okay, encode Json right here. Again, nobody can use it except for us. And then in data, again, queue with arguments. We'll use self.encode.json, and we'll pass queued arguments right here. But again, we'll need to... If you forgot, message input function is called in initialize method of our protocol. Actually, it's better to call another function, but I don't want to introduce it right now because the video is pretty long already, and we need to move on and rewrite the whole client. But now we'll call it init with call in thread, and message input while true, send message. We'll call it in thread because input is a blocking function which blocks our event loop. You can watch previous videos and I will explain it in details. Okay, so send message, we need to provide two values. First of all, value, which is equals to input, and let's call value like that. And then we need to provide the type. So type, again, input function from type. I think everything works fine, and yeah. Okay, so now we send the value and the type, but I want to improve our data received function, because now we only decode. And again, when we decode, we need to try and accept Unicode decode error. But now I want send message to the server, because actually, if our server works wrong, that's the problem of the company. So that's our own problem. But if our client works wrong, that's the problem of the client which uses our server. Okay, and because of that, what I want to do is print wrong, or something went wrong. In the future, we'll be able to send like the whole reports, but actually it's like a great addition to our client, not the crucial thing. Okay, so data decode, something went wrong, and what I want to do now is from OS import std, or no, sorry, not from OS, but from sys import std_err. If you don't know anything about std_err, again, you can watch my video about print and open secrets. But actually, std_err is a stream for errors in our system. And what I can do is file equals std_err. You understand why I use it, but actually you can omit it if you don't want to use it. And yeah, okay, something went wrong, and again, except, and actually we can call and JSON decoder, because no matter what the error is called, no matter what error is raised, I'll print something went wrong and the smile. Okay, and then we'll return right here. And then what I want to do is if data type equals if data type equals error, then we'll again print data value from file std_err. Again, you understand why I use std_err, else print data. Again, I will explain std_err, but if you don't want to skip the video or wonder what it does, it just simply prints everything in red. And that's it. Okay, then value right here. So if we have an error, we print file std_err. But if we have normal, so another type, we just simply print data. And you can ask, why don't you use only one data type, so error, or for example, success? Because I will need to, for example, change the layouts in my UI. So it will be more easier for me to work with different types of data. But now we will use only error, and else we will just simply print the data value. Okay, and again, actually it's better to call something like that, and let's use another method. So get, I'll explain the function. Data get just simply gets the key, or if we don't have the key, no value in the message. So we don't have value in the message, and if our server works wrong and it does not send any value, we will have that line printed. Okay, I think now everything works fine, and let's copy that. Let's put it right here, and what we can do here is unknown error. Everything works fine. So now we have a structure, and it will be actually much more easier for us to work with our server in the future. Okay, now let's just test it. Oh, I understand what's the problem. Actually, it's not connected with Json or anything. It's connected with the servers because they only talk in bytes, as I said. And let's go encode UTF-8 here. That's a trivial problem. Okay, UTF-8 right here, and let's rerun our server. Okay, now I won't have any problems, I think, and let's write created value. We need to put value as, I don't know, for example, 1, because the first ID, and user choose. Okay, string indices must be integers. Okay, again, we have another problem, because I forgot to put json.loads right here. Okay, again, that's a trivial problem and nothing wrong with that. User choose. Yeah, and as you can see, we received talk to 1. Everything works fine. So now let's send the message, for example, hello 1, and the type as what? As, let's go right here, new message. Okay, new message. And our client, yes, again, our client will receive that error because I have not reloaded my client. But again, as you can see, everything works fine. You can get that code on my GitHub page and everything will work fine because, yeah, that's actually it. So that video was kind of hard to understand, I think, but we created the structure. And that's the most important video out of every video in that series. Because the structure is the most important thing for every server and for every client connection or hierarchy. Good luck.